Alright, hello everyone and welcome to a special episode of Kottabos Space Program, and what makes this episode special is that just today, at the time of recording this, Squad released an official mod for the game, and well, I just had to make a recording to take a look at this, and it is simply wonderful. Now this mod goes by the name Asteroid Day, and what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is 4 new parts which allow you to create your own version of the real-life proposed Sentinel mission, which is a project looking to put an infrared telescope between Earth and Venus to help us track the asteroids in our solar system. And with these new parts in KSP, you can do the same. So let's jump right on into the VAB and take a look at what these lovely new parts are. Now, first and foremost, here we have the HECS-2 probe core, which, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know I have a fondness for probe cores because it means it's one less Kerbal I could potentially kill. And this is a pretty nice little probe core. Not exactly the most complicated or interesting of models, but the texturing's good, nice little details to it, I quite enjoy it. And it is also quite large. If we put a Stay Putnik on here for size comparison, that is the size of this thing. It is pretty big, and for good reason, as besides being an unmanned command pod, it has its own reaction wheel, its own SAS, and also a very, very large battery. It holds 1,000 electric charge, and that is why this thing is a pretty beefy probe core, and I just love it. Let's zoom out a bit and head down to Utility, which is where we'll find the next part for the list, and that is a new OX-SNAT XL photovoltaic panel, rather, and it's essentially 8 of the standard OX-SNAT photovoltaic panels combined together. Like, here's the original stock piece, and now here is the new XL piece, and yeah, it's just a combined version of 8 of those, but I still enjoy it quite a bit, as it's a nice large solar panel that, sits nicely flush with whatever probe you put it onto, and that's always nice to have more parts for aesthetic reasons. I quite enjoy it. Let's chuck that off and take a look at the Science tab, which is where we'll find the last 2 parts. As remember, once again, it is only 4 parts in this mod. And in here we find the new sorry about that, flubbing my words here, the HG55 high gain antenna. And this is now the highest load antenna in the game, with having a lovely packet size of 3 compared to the packet size of 2, 2, and 2. So this thing can handle larger data than any of the other antennas, and it is quite cool. And besides being a high load that it can broadcast, it also has a beautiful animation. I love this. I'm always a sucker for an animation, and that just makes me happy. It is pretty cool. I like it. It does make for some design challenges, considering it opens up flush with the craft and also sits folded up flush with the craft. So if you kind of want it like sticking outward or something along those lines, it could prove a little bit difficult to finagle it into a position you like, but overall it is quite a cool little antenna. And of course, last but certainly not least in this mod is the actual infrared telescope that allows you to recreate, or mimic rather, the proposed Sentinel mission. And it does go by the name Sentinel, and this baby is gigantic and wonderful. I absolutely love the model of this thing. The texturing is very good, very nicely done. I love the little honeycomb pattern here. The nice little protection in the back. We've got the cool little wording on it, the infrared telescope and its designation, all that. Very, very cool, very lovely. And it is, of course, a new scientific experiment, which is always needed in this game. The more science, the better in Kerbal Space Program. And, of course, also very useful as well. It's not just science, but it also helps you track asteroids. We'll get on to more of that in a little bit. But yes, it is just a very cool part, and I am glad to see it added into the game. Now let's head out of the VAB, no we don't need to save you, and head into the R&D facility to see where you can grab these if you do a science or career save. So if you aren't in Sandbox, just follow along the science tree and you get the new solar panel here in Advanced Electronics. You'll find it right there, the OXStat XL. Now the next is, oh god, which tab? Oh, nope, there we were. Automation is where the new high-gain antenna lives. We then have the new command pod in Advanced Unmanned Tech. And then the last bit is... Oh, nope, I was right there. No, I was right on this one. The last bit of the actual telescope is under Science Tech. And yeah, so these are the 4 techs that you have to get to actually get these 4 parts. But well worth it. Not really that difficult to get to it, of course, if you're powering through science, but of course you will need rockets typically. But since I'm using HyperEdit to move things around, I have put one of these into space already, so that we can talk about how it works. So let's head into the tracking station and zoom all the way the crap out. And we have asteroids over here, and our lovely Sentinel mission right there. Still tracking asteroids, and sitting in a very nice, handy little orbit between, of course, our Venus, oh god, a comparable planet, there we go, cannot find the words today, of Eve, and of course, our planet of Kerbin. Sort of sitting in between them at around 11 million meters, or billion meters rather. And what this satellite does while it's spinning around is it will act similar to the observation stations here on Kerbin, and it will be able to see asteroids, but it sees quite a ways out. Like, you'll notice it is right here, and we're seeing asteroids all the way over here, and I've seen it picking up asteroids all the way over in this area, so it's quite good at tracking them, and so it allows you to see where more asteroids are in the solar system, and thus allowing you to track them and eventually plan out fun missions to them, hopefully. And we have our ship already set up here, so let us go and grab... Oh, no, wait. Before we do go and fly this mission, there is one other thing I should show you here in the career mode before we do, because it'll help me explain things a bit more. Now, over here in the contracts area, one of the new things added in by the mod is a new kind of contract, which is to track potentially dangerous asteroids heading towards Kerbin with the Sentinel infrared telescope. And to complete these missions, you have to get your satellite into a specific orbit around the sun, have it at a specific inclination, and then actually do the search for the asteroids with the Sentinel satellite that you have. And the fun part is with these contracts don't have to be completed by a single ship. Unlike most contracts where it's, one ship, one mission, you send it up, it'll do things. This will work for however many Sentinel telescopes you have out in space. So the more Sentinel telescopes you have, the quicker you'll be able to complete these, because it just has to know that there is a Sentinel telescope in the specific, or on a vessel rather, in the specific orbit within a reasonable deviation, and then combined the whole network just needs to find that specific amount of asteroids. So it's quite cool. This is more of a time-based one rather than anything else. So let's just grab this mission, and you'll see in the archives, I already did complete one earlier just to see how it all worked. And so let us go into the tracking station, and now grab our Sentinel satellite here, and go do some tracking. Now, it needs to be in orbit around the sun and not looking towards the sun, and preferably it should be looking at Kerbin, since that is what our intention is to scan. We are wanting to actually map the asteroids that are endangering Kerbin. And how you can do that is, well, I'm actually already tracking things, so let's stop tracking. But yes, we have two options here when you right-click on this. We have log observation data, which of course is your standard scientific experiment that you can do at any point. You can take these in orbit and around various planets and get different bits of scientific data. You can keep that, transmit it whenever you're ready. And then the other option is to start object tracking. And once you turn this on, it will stay on. Even once you leave this satellite and go to another ship or go to the tracking station, it will continue to map Kerbin. And that is, well, important, because that's kind of the whole point of this thing. And if we go into the map and do a little cheating, because, well, it's easier to show these things off if I can control the universe, essentially. And we are going to change our orbit to match up better with this, because of course right now we have it in orbit, but we don't have it within the reasonable deviation. So we need to do orbit editor, and it needed to be within like 10 billion. So we will apply. There we go. We are now within the reasonable deviation. And I am actually going to put us closer to Kerbin, because it does like being looking at Kerbin, so it's easier to just do it with this. There we go. Over by Kerbin. Excellent. And if we just make sure we're facing away from the sun. Oh, God. Move around. This way. There we go. Ah, yes. Go to that point. Perfect. Excellent. We are now facing the infrared camera away from the sun, and we are tracking objects. So if we go back into the map, you'll notice we are tracking the asteroids around here, and as time goes on, again, this is a very time-based thing, we'll find more asteroids, and they'll start to be added to our list of newly tracked objects. So if we accelerate time, we should start seeing some things pop up here that we have found a new asteroid to track, etc. Oh, there we go. The Sentinel has now mapped 1 of 5 suitable asteroids near Kerbin. So I didn't see where it popped on the map, but it found a new one. And if we just keep going, there goes 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh god, we found all 5, and we've already completed the mission. And like I said, the more of these Sentinel probes you have around the sun, or around other places, it doesn't necessarily have to be in this position, because these will track asteroids anywhere that they are. I put one way out by Joule earlier, and was seeing asteroids out here, which was quite cool to see. And yeah, so if you just have multiples of these scattered around the solar system, you'll be able to track where all of the various asteroids are living in this solar system. And that makes your life a lot easier if you are planning a mission to go to one of these objects. So right now, I only have 1 Sentinel. So eventually, these different asteroids are going to go out of its range. But if you have enough of these Sentinels to cover every angle, basically, it makes it for live tracking of the asteroids as they go around the solar system, which just makes your life a lot easier. So I'm really enjoying this mod. I cannot wait to play around with this more, set up an awesome little system of Sentinel satellites, and it's just interesting to be able to track all the asteroids. And I've always loved the idea of the real-world Sentinel missions, so being able to recreate it here in Kerbal Space Program just makes me happy. So yes, if you would like to download this mod for yourself, you can follow the link in the description as always, and I do hope you give it a try, as it is just glorious, and I am absolutely loving it. So, and of course, I hope you have enjoyed this episode today, and that you come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one.